What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic podcast. I'm your humble host, Brandon Lampley. Today I'll talk Super Bowl, a little college football, and maybe some NBA if I can fit it in. So first and foremost, let's talk about the game. If you like offensive football, that game was not for you. It's for people who love defense. I love defense. I like defense. I like running the football. That's what I like. Now, everybody wants to see, 50 touchdown passes, 600 yards, 50 plus passes in a game. No. Run the football and play defense. That's what I know. That's what I live by. That's what I like. So that Super Bowl was for me. Now, apparently, the fans down in New Orleans didn't watch the Super Bowl. I seen they had like a record low rating for the Super Bowl, which I get it. I understand you're salty. You feel like you should have been there, but a game isn't decided on one call. It's not. So, cry me a river of tears. Just know that Miles Jack wasn't down, and I'm not spewing that all over town, even though I know we were kind of annoying with it, but he wasn't down, and that's factual. But anyway. Today, of course, is one of the saddest days of the year for me. It's the end of football. I live, eat, sleep, and breathe football. Absolutely love the game. Nothing's better. Basketball is a close second. Baseball is third, maybe. And everything else is kind of jumbled in and falls up under that. Every now and then, if Tiger's hot, I'll watch him. But other than that, football is king. Now let's get into the game. Tom Brady and Jared Goff were awful. Absolutely awful. The difference between the two is that when it counted the most, when you needed him the most, he delivered, and that was Tom Brady. I think 4 straight passes on the game-winning drive to seal it up. That's what you want. But leading up to that, I think he had people like to use QBR. It's okay. But he had a 25 QBR for the game. But up until that last drive, dude was terrible. Absolutely terrible. Then on the flip side of that, Jared Goff and the Rams offense. I mean, my God. Bill Belichick put together an absolute masterpiece defending these guys. And I don't care what he says. I don't care what Sean McVay says. I don't care what the Rams say. Todd Gurley is hurt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The situation is so bizarre. Now, if I'm Sean McVay and the Rams, of course you're left with the what ifs. What if Cooper Kupp wasn't hurt? What if Todd Gurley was at 100%? Even for Sean McVay, he said he was out-coached. He called a bad game. And I agree. It's like New England didn't do anything that I saw from a defensive standpoint that was otherworldly. It was nothing super innovative to me, at least to the naked eye. And they couldn't pick it up. I mean, Jared Goff could not pick up blitzes. It was astounding. It was like this was his first game in the National Football League. Maybe the moment was too big for them. Maybe the moment was too big for Jared Goff. Maybe it was too big for Sean McVay and his coaching staff. We'll never know. And I'm sure when they go back and look at the tape, they had their chances. Jared Goff locked on to his guy and basically was predetermined where he was going to go with the football for a majority of the game because it was routes that came open as soon as he decided he was going to another receiver. Someone else came open and he never saw him. I know they had Robert Woods late in the game up the seam, and if he had just held it a little longer and looked to the other side of the field, you have a touchdown. And Robert Woods walks into the end zone. The corner is chasing him, sucking wind, ain't going to be able to catch him, trying to block both hamstrings, trying to catch him at that point, and he walks into the end zone, and it would have been 10-10. There was also the 2 almost touchdowns by Brandon Cooks. One where Goff was late. I mean, he was late. There's no other explanation. He was late. And if he gets there a little earlier, it's a touchdown, and Jason McCourty doesn't have a chance to break up the pass. Now, the other one was clearly defensive pass interference. Stephon Gilmore hooked Brandon Cook's arm. If he's able to get that other arm up there, he's able to get the football, catch it, and it would have been 10-10 at that point as well. And let's not forget about the phantom holding call on Todd Gurley's best run of the night. I think they called it on the center, John Sullivan. It was behind the play, number one, and it didn't affect the play whatsoever. And he wasn't holding the guy. And that killed their drive. That killed their momentum. Because they had started to, kind of get into a groove. Sean McVay started to call a few plays here and there. They started to hit on some stuff. And that absolutely killed their one drive. Well, enough about what the Rams didn't do. Let's talk about what the Patriots did do. First and foremost, Stephon Gilmore should have been MVP. They get 5 tackles, 3 passes defense, an interception, and a forced fumble on C.J. Anderson. Which, on the fumble, I swear it took 3 seconds for that ball to roll out of bounds. And I was shocked nobody got on top of it. But Stephon Gilmore, with the second half of this season and the postseason, to me really should have cemented himself as one of the top corners in the league. I mean, he's been good for a while now. He just doesn't get as much attention or praise as some of the other corners because he's not very vocal. He's very quiet, like Xavier Rhodes. I don't think I've ever heard Xavier Rhodes speak too many times before. But Stephon Gilmore is a quality football player and should have been MVP. Now, I understand Julian Edelman. I think he had, 10 catches for 141 yards. He's one of the, greatest postseason receivers in NFL history. I think he's only a few catches all time behind Jerry Rice in the postseason. And all that is fine. But Stephon Gilmore should have been the MVP. You held the Rams to 260 total yards and 3 points. That's it. That he should have been MVP. There's no love for defense. And it's amazing with all the rule changes and things that's catered towards offense. It's so fitting that the biggest game of the year is a defensive matchup. And I loved every minute of it. Now, Nate Burleson said something during the broadcast that I disagree with. Not vehemently, but I do disagree with, that Edelman is a Hall of Famer. Hold on. You got to pump your brakes, bro. You have to pump your brakes. Dude, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt aren't even in the Hall yet. Andre Reed still isn't in the Hall. Jimmy Smith isn't in the Hall. I'm a Jaguar homer. So, also, Tony Baselli should have went in. Kevin Mawai shouldn't have went in over Tony Baselli. But that's my opinion. But, dude, Julian Edelman, a Hall of Famer? Now, maybe, if he wait a couple years, after his playing career is over, because, his book hasn't been written completely yet. He still has time to add on some numbers to his career. But, dude, come on, man. Seriously? He's not a Hall of Famer at this current moment. If it was just about postseason, there's a few more that might have been Hall of Famers. But no. As I said before, Brady was awful for a majority of the game. But when you needed him the most, he was pinpoint. He was accurate. He was cool. He was calm and collected down the stretch. And he made plays when they needed to be made. I mean, one of the best clutch performers I have seen in my lifetime. I'm only 30 years old. So, Montana, Terry Bradshaw, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, all those other quarterbacks who they, put up there as top quarterbacks ever. I didn't get to watch them play extensively. But Brady is the guy. Brady is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. 18 years, 9 Super Bowl appearances. Dude has been to the Super Bowl, 52.4% of the time he's been in the league. And that's absolutely insane. This will never be duplicated. It'll never be done again. Now, if there was an award to give out for MVP of the entire playoffs, it would have to go to Sony Michel, rookie running back out of Georgia. So in 3 playoff games, 355 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns. He had 94 in the Super Bowl. Kid is amazing. I think he played a total of 16 games, including the playoffs, had over 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. And he isn't talked about as one of the top rookies this year. You know, of course, you talk about Baker Mayfield, you talk about Lamar Jackson, you talk about Josh Allen, you talk about Josh Rosen. I mean, you talk about all the rookies, but Sony Michel name was rarely brought up, and he's quietly went about his business and had a great year. Oh, and can't forget, Saquon Barkley, of course, the offensive rookie of the year. Yeah, Saquon had 2,000 total yards, 15 touchdowns, set the rookie reception record with 91 catches in the season. Just an electric year, but they were losers. They lost. Sony Michel, 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, and to top it all off with a Super Bowl ring, of course, it's no contest. As good as Sony Michel is, imagine a backfield with him, Nick Chubb of the Browns, and Todd Gurley of the Rams, all in college together. That's what Georgia had. There's only two other backfields that I know of that can rival that. And one was Arkansas when they had Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, and Peyton Hillis. And, of course, Alabama, which you know now, Alvin Kamara. Before he went to Tennessee, he was at Alabama. So Alvin Kamara, T.J. Yeldon, Kenyon Drake, and Derrick Henry. Absolutely insane. I love to run the football. So that's just a dream for me. I can hand the football off. I can have exactly 0 passes in a game. That's what I would love to see. I would love to see a game where there's 0 passes and you run the football, play defense all game. That's why I love Alabama. Now, of course, I am a Jaguars fan, so I don't like the Patriots. I'm not a Patriot hater, but I respect them. But I am an Alabama fan. And no, I was not a fan before Nick Saban. Hey, I'm a sports fanatic. It's irrational. It is what it is. The reason Alabama lost this year was because they got away from what Alabama does best, which is run the football and play defense. And I guarantee you this off season that Nick Saban will make it a point to emphasize the run game this upcoming season. And I expect us to be back in the championship game next year. I also expect Clemson to be back there. Trevor Lawrence is great, but we'll see what happens next year. Now, I brought up Alabama as a segue into my next topic, and that's Dante Hightower, the former Alabama linebacker. Now, Dante, he's not considered one of the top linebackers in the league, but anytime I watch Dante play, I've always been thoroughly impressed with him. And he's one of those quintessential Patriot linebackers. I mean, built in the mold of Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, Mark Vrabel, Roosevelt Colvin. Those dual linebackers that you can pretty much put them anywhere. They can rush the passer, they can cover. They do everything that Bill needs them to do in the defense. And Dante shows up in the biggest moments of games. I mean, just thinking about when they won against the Atlanta Falcons. He had a sack in that game that decided it. Last night he had 2 sacks on Jared Goff. One where he sacked him where it would have been a 44-yard field goal. And Jared Goff, you cannot take a sack in that situation. It was the same with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, you know this. You've known this since high school. You cannot take a sack. Same with Jared Goff. You cannot take a sack in those situations. But Bill Belichick dialed it up, and Dante Howard came through. Now, I don't see a gold jacket in his future, but 3 rings, millions of dollars, I'll take it. Playing for one of the best coaches, owners, and organizations, period, over the last 20 years. I mean, I'll take that any day. Now, I know I said Julian Edelman is not a Hall of Famer per se, but what he showed you was the importance of the nickel corner position. The nickel corner has to be damn near the best corner or DB on your team, period, because his responsibilities are through the roof. He's playing closer to the line of scrimmage, so he has to be physical. He has to have a high IQ, has somewhat linebacker responsibilities, has to be physically tough, has to have short area quickness in order to defend two-way releases. And you better be able to play man, because if not, the Julian Edelmans of the NFL will have you looking like barbecue chicken. And like I said before, I love defensive football, and one of my favorite positions, of course, is defensive back. It intrigues me because you have to be a different type of dude to play those positions, corner and safety. I mean, you're basically covering track athletes while running backwards. I mean, I have a hard time walking backwards, let alone running backwards. I mean, I haven't played football since high school, so that might be the case why, but nonetheless, it's a tough position to play. Now, I almost forgot to mention my other two MVPs of the game. Of course, there's Wade Phillips, defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, and Brian Flores, linebacker coach and play caller, defensive play caller for the New England Patriots. Both of those guys called a masterpiece of a game. Wade Phillips did an excellent job of mixing up man versus zone. He absolutely stumped Brady and Josh McDaniels pretty much for 3.5 quarters. It wasn't towards the end to where they started to figure a few things out, but even then, nothing felt easy. Everything felt everything they got, they earned. Brian Flores, on the other hand, I mean, my God, he's going to get overshadowed because of Bill Belichick and his presence. But I mean, my God, once again, limiting the Rams to a total of 260 yards, limiting their rushing attack to 62 total yards. I mean, Gurley had 10 attempts for 35 yards. C.J. Anderson, 7 carries for 22 yards. Robert Woods had 1 carry for 5 yards. Jared Goff was 19 to 38 for 229 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, Sean McVay and that offense could not figure it out. Which brings me to my next point. The New Orleans Saints, I think, would have beaten the Patriots. Now, they wouldn't have held Brady in that offense to 13 points. It would have been more of a high-scoring game. But Drew Brees in that offense would have went toe-to-toe with Brady and Belichick. There's no doubt in my mind. Now, you didn't go because of a non-call. But like I said before, one play doesn't determine the game. You had your chances. Just like the Jacksonville Jaguars had their chances against the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game in 2018. If Miles Jack is able to pick that fumble up and run it back for a clear touchdown because there was no one in his path, he would have scored. We end up going to the Super Bowl facing the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm pretty sure we pound the Eagles into the ground. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. Jaguars will get us a quarterback, and we will be back in the tournament next year. Believe that. Believe that. Now I'm going to switch it up. We'll talk about, halftime. Pre-game was pretty good. Gladys Knight, she sung that national anthem. Love Gladys Knight. I mean, her and Aretha Franklin, Shaka Khan, they're all pretty much in that same category of legendary black soul singers. She's amazing. Adam Levine and Maroon 5. I like Adam Levine. I like Maroon 5. The halftime show was okay. I mean, the best part of course, was Travis Scott and Big Boy. Thought they would have more of an ATL presence, but of course, because of, certain people, turned them down. Cardi B turned them down. I think Rihanna turned them down. Some Atlanta artists turned them down. And it's for Colin Kaepernick. And, and I understand it. I'm all for it. Now, of course, best commercial of the night was the NFL 100 commercial. I mean, you had a myriad of NFL stars and superstars in that commercial. It was very nicely done. You had a little cameo by one of my favorites, of course, Jalen Ramsey, Saquon Barkley, Ed Reed, LaDainian Tomlinson, Joe Montana, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders. I mean, excellent commercial, best one of the night. Now, one of the weirdest commercials I saw was, I think, for Mint Mobile. They were talking about drinking chunky milk. You have to go back and see it. It was weird. Michelob Ultra did a commercial, I think with I think her name is Zoe Kravitz. And I'm not a beer drinker, but I'm pretty sure beer sells itself. And she's like whispering in the commercial. I didn't understand what that had to do with beer whatsoever. I understand, sex sell, maybe her sex appeal with her whispering, but her being fully clothed, sitting down, whispering into a microphone, I don't understand how that helps you sell beer. I mean, over time, companies have got worse and worse with trying to, outdo Super Bowl commercials and outdo their past commercials or other companies. The best ones were ones that keep it simple. Like one of my favorites is a Doritos commercials Can't remember what year it was, but guy walks up to the house and he knocks on the door, and attractive woman opens the door, and looks like they're getting ready to go on a date. So the guy comes in, she introduces him to her son, and he's sitting down playing video games. So the guy watches the mom walk off into the back, and he sits down on the sofa, and he says to the little kid, he was like, "I see you got your little games going, man." He's like, "It's gonna be different when I get on the sticks." And he picks up one of the kid's Doritos and gets ready to eat it. Kid slaps him in the face, and he goes, "Don't touch my mama, don't touch my Doritos," and just stares him down. It's one of the best commercials. Nah, they do too much nowadays. Oh, and I can't forget about one of the performances within the halftime performance. It was a gospel singer named Carmen Carter who sung with Adam Levine and Maroon 5 when he sung the song Girls Like You. And she absolutely blew me away. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to it because it started to get stale. And then I heard her vocals, and then I immediately paid attention to the television. I'm like, man, who is this singing? And I mean, she's a great singer. If you have not seen that performance, you definitely have to go back and check that one out. All in all, it was a great night for football. I enjoyed the game thoroughly. It wasn't, of course, I told you it wasn't for the casual fan who tuned in. Probably was boring. Like baseball. Baseball is boring. Baseball is too slow. I mean, it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts on it. You can look me up. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. My Twitter is @BLampster. That's @BLAMPSTER. I'm on Instagram too, but I'm not really on there. I don't post much on there. I am active on Facebook as well, so you can find me and friend me on Facebook. Message me, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of the podcast. Whether you want to give constructive criticism or you just want to debate me, I am up for it anywhere, anytime, any place. But I am here for you. My success is your success. Peace out, y'all.